welcome to Mangard Rovers Game Week 17 predictions with me, Shaun, and Phil. And we're going to fire
How
through
do?
everything. Yeah, how doing? You well?
Very good. Very good.
Wonder if last weekend can provide as many goals. This weekend can provide as many goals as last weekend after some great games last weekend. Game Week
Oh,
17 this weekend, Phil.
yes, and we cannot wait. Every week we think we've seen it all, and then every week the Premier League delivers more. It's yeah, awesome. It is, and it's hopefully it's going to be. The only disappointing this weekend is the weird scheduling of the fixtures. I don't know if you've had a look. There's one match
Yeah,
on Sunday, one match on Monday. What's that about? Like we're going to have 90% of our fun done at the end of Saturday night. So it's like being 20 again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm guessing it's because of the way Christmas falls and fixtures
Oh,
around
it's
Boxing
bound
Day
to
and
be
stuff like that.
some.
But
There'll be some sort of fanciful nonsense to try and explain it to us, but
there is some reasoning.
we'll enjoy the matches when they're there. At least there's at least one game every day. So
First game this weekend
we'll.
is Newcastle 12:30 kick off against Chelsea. Really tough game for us. Where do you start? The cat's doing something. I think Eddie
Where
Howe's
do
got
you
to do
start?
something. I think we've got to see a turnaround. We've got to turn up and play at home after last week's dreadful display. Utterly pitiful performance last week against Sunderland. Just one we're not going to live down for the whole season now. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got to turn up. I'm going to put us down for a 2-1 win because I've got to back my boys. But I think it'd be really tough to get that. I really think it'd be a really tough. Chelsea are been a little bit better recently. They had a good win last week against a tough Everton team. So, um, yeah, I'm going to back my boys 2-1. Phil?
Well, I think, yeah, I definitely think you might have some magpies on your eyes with that one. I mean, I can see why you would. You got, like we've said before, you've got to back your boys and you got to back your team. Um, but I think, Chelsea back to winning ways last weekend. Like you say, awful performance from Newcastle against Sunderland. Just didn't want it enough. And I think the way you beat this Chelsea team is by being the exact opposite of that. Leeds showed the how you can get at them if you get into them, which historically or normally is Newcastle's game, isn't it? That's why you've got the midfield you've got, and that's why you've had some of the results you've had over the last couple of years is by getting all the people's shirt collars and roughing them up a bit, sort of thing. And that's not to say you can't play football, but you make it difficult for teams. That might disrupt Chelsea like it did when they played Leeds. In that they're a young team, a bit like the Arsenal problems of the early 2000s. They don't like it when teams get in amongst them. But Newcastle didn't show that fight last weekend, so you're kind of hoping, well, you need to re-find being Newcastle United is what you need to do. Chelsea, obviously, riding high, and Cole Palmer, is back and firing. It looks like from last week, which will give them all confidence. They've looked good defensively, also most of the season. With Cucurella looking particularly inspired,
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
even with his daft haircut. So I don't like daft haircuts, so I'm just jealous. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It really is going to be a
Yeah.
tough one. But I'm not sure after the last couple of weeks I can quite bring myself to find your confidence in Newcastle in this one. So it's young side. If you get into them, maybe, but can't see it. So Chelsea 2, Newcastle 2. I reckon they'll give you the same sort of. I can see something very similar to the Tottenham game where you get in
Yeah.
amongst them and you make it hard for them. But I can also see you having a couple of particularly like you were saying about Dan Burn being injured. Like I can see there being some defensive issues that might make it. So I'm going to go 2-2. Let's have a Desmond. Let's get him out early.
Early Desmond showing up. Moving to the 3 o'clocks after that, we've got Bournemouth at home to Burnley. Bournemouth coming off a wild game at Old Trafford last Monday, and Burnley again just stuttering. So, what do you fancy for this one? Do you think Bournemouth will be comfortable at home against Burnley?
Yeah, Semenyo looked happy last weekend, and he's if nothing else. I mean, Man United's ironically when you watch back the highlights of that Monday night match, Man United's goals they weren't very beautifully crafted, but Bournemouth were. So they definitely looked. Certainly, second half looked like they were firing and they were ticking and they were bouncing along. Back from an attacking perspective, obviously looked god awful in defence. Um, But fundamentally, Burnley's attack, I mean, Man United's attack isn't all that, but Burnley's attack isn't even what Man United's is. So I can't see them travelling down south and getting much coming back on the way, to be honest. And I think Bournemouth will be pretty comfortable, and they need it. They've had a dreadful run of results, and this is. Think they'll recognise the importance of getting a result, and I think they'll have enough Premier League know-how to see off a quite naive Burnley side. So Bournemouth 2, Burnley 0 for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had down. Bournemouth 2, Burnley 0. Yeah, I can't really disagree with you there on that one. I think Bournemouth have too much. Burnley, not good travellers. Yeah, can't really touch on it any more than that. Another free clip we've got Brighton at home to Sunderland. It's an interesting one, Phil. What you got down for this one? Tough one to call this, I think.
It is because we've said many times, Brighton always creating chances, always dangerous. They like playing at home. Sunderland haven't travelled quite so well as the fortress of the Stadium of Light, but they will be drilled, they will be organised, and if they weren't already, then off the back of last weekend's, they're not fearing anybody at the minute, are they? So they're not going to be overawed by going to the Premier League veterans. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, really. But I fancy Sunderland. I fancy Sunderland to be too organised for Brighton. And although I think Brighton will create chances, I do fancy them to be organised. So I'm going to go Brighton 1, Sunderland 2, I think.
I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I think we'll see Brighton. Um, Brighton at home. Been good at home all season, haven't they, to be fair? And I think Sunderland would be happy with a point travelling down there. Sunderland played well last week against us. They turned up, we didn't. They are organised, they're strong. Xhaka in that midfield has really brought a different elements there. That team is being quality for them. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna give Brighton a bit more respect and give Brighton a point at home.
Yeah,
Moving on,
fair enough. It could easily be that, yeah.
yeah, moving on. We've got Man City at home to West Ham. I think we all know what we're going to predict for this one. I'm going to get in there first on this one. I'm going to go 3-1 City because I think West Ham will score. Bowen's looking sharp again. Yeah, 3-1 City. I think they'll just be too strong for West Ham. About yourself, Phil? What are you
I think,
expecting from
yeah, I
this?
mean, yeah, I think City, in the vein of form they're in, I can't see West Ham being much more than a little bump in the, a barely noticeable bobble in the tarmac. To be fair, City firing all cylinders. West Ham, we've said, shown a bit of fight, but got brushed aside by Aston Villa. I think they'll get brushed aside even more quickly by Manchester City, particularly at the Etihad. It just it's too much for them, I think. And I think their eyes will be on other fixtures over this holiday period that are more important to them. So I don't think they'll want to get anybody injured. And people don't like to acknowledge that, but I think certainly coming into this 4 or 5 weeks of busy fixtures, the reality is that is the case. If you're a player, are you gonna go absolutely balls to the wall in a match where you probably don't think that's going to get you anything when you've got other matches you think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You listen to ex-players talk as a mix, but I think City, whatever West Ham choose to do, I think City will have more than enough to get it over the line. Not as confident as you that Jared Bowen will be able to single-handedly do a great deal against that Manchester City back line. So I'm going to say Manchester City 3-0.
3-0. A blank for
Yeah.
West Ham for you then. Another team that are down there, flat rock bottom. Wolves at home against Brentford, who have started picking points up again. Do you want to lead with this one? I can't see much hope for Wolves, to be fair.
What do you think?
I think 2-0 Brentford. We're saying that though. Rob Edwards did get a bit of a spark out of them last week, didn't he? They did play and make it difficult for you guys. It's just whether or not they can carry that through into this weekend. I just can't see it with the way Wolves have been.
You're going 2-0 Brentford. No, I think you're right. I think Rob Edwards showed they can for the first time in this season they sort of showed togetherness and effort and concentration for certainly 85 of the 95 minutes that were
Yeah,
played um, against our boys. But I, there's a it's very different, and this is where a lot of the teams that come up sometimes flatter to deceive. Where it's very, and I know they haven't come up by the way, but in general in that classification, but it's very easy to look good when you're putting 10, 11 men behind the ball. Because essentially, what you're asking players to do is just concentrate and mark the space and follow patterns of play and head the ball out the box, and allow and the other team all the pressures in on them to try and create something. Um, I don't think Wolves will do that. I don't think they can afford to do where they are in the league. They can't afford to do that against Brentford. And I also don't think Brentford will come onto them anything like Arsenal did, or anything like Manchester United did. So I know Manchester United won that game, but Wolves looked in it for a prolonged period of time first. So I I don't think it will be as easy for Wolves because I think Brentford will happily match them and just sit and go, well, do you know what? We're happy with a draw. I'm not sure they will be, but we'll be happy to let you swing first. So I don't I don't see a great deal of hope for Wolves, despite the fact they certainly did show more togetherness for against Arsenal. But I think Brentford will be too well drilled, and they're not going to mind having a strong scrap in the trenches against Wolves, and I can't necessarily see that fight from Wolves lasting against a really determined Brentford team. And Brentford are always, this season they're always determined and organised. So, but I could maybe see them nicking a goal on a transition. So I'll go Wolves 1, Brentford 2.
so both down for a Brentford win then. Let's talk about your second favourite team, Spurs, at home to Liverpool. I love talking about Spurs, don't you?
Wow.
What have you got for this one?
What
Spurs
have I
at
got for?
home.
I've got no idea. I mean, they've both broken my heart so many times this season. With like, you've backed them, you've trusted them, you've put your little like bit of hope in their hands, and they both teach you why their fans are such miserable people because they have to support that pile of tripe. Like, and I mean, it's I don't know, like it's proper Sophie's choice, isn't it? But like, I don't want either of them. I want to choose to give them both away. Um, But can I pick them both to lose? I mean, if anyone could find a way, they could find a way for them both to lose a game.
Both in blood.
But yeah, but I'll be honest. I think that it is far more likely that Spurs will put in an absolutely shoddy, appalling performance. Liverpool looked good last weekend.
Yeah, they did.
That
To
they
be fair.
did what they need to do. I think the players who were there will be very motivated to demonstrate they can win without Mo Salah. I think the
Yeah.
manager would motivate to demonstrate that he can win without Mo Salah. That's nothing negative to Mo Salah, but I think
Oh,
it's not. I think their animosity will come to the media who've made such a big deal out of the fact that do they need Mo Salah to win, and I think Spurs. We've said before, Spurs the ultimate cup team, so that they can pull out the unbelievably good result like they did against Manchester City. And then like you watch them last weekend, and you're just like, well, which 11 guys did you drag off the street and put a shirt on this week? Like, who knows? Like, I and they're not great at. It's not even called White Hart Lane anymore. Is it Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? I don't know. It's let's just call it the place with the empty trophy cabinet. Um, no, but um, no, I mean, yeah, Liverpool are going to demolish them. Is my fundamental belief. I think Liverpool will turn up motivated. They'll turn up wanting to win. They'll see it as a match they can win. I just don't see that fight from Tottenham. I think Liverpool will go through them. Like COVID in old people's home. To be honest, I think it'll be an absolute massacre. Um, sorry, is it too soon for that? I don't know. But so so we're going. But Richarlison's an arrogant little sod and let me down. So I'm going Liverpool 3, Tottenham 1. You heard it here first.
I'm I'm gonna go a bit more controversial. I'm gonna bring out Desmond for this one. Simple.
You don't like winning,
It'd
do you?
just be so Spursy, wouldn't it? It'd just be
It
so
would
Spursy.
be so Spursy. It'd be so Spursy to go and win 4-0. But, you've broken my heart enough times this season, Tottenham. So no. No, 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 no. Liverpool for the win. Come on.
Okay. We'll see what happens over the weekend with that then. And What are your boys going to do away to Everton then? 8 o'clock kick-off Saturday.
Do you know what? We'll bring the guns to Merseyside. It'll be a more one-sided slaughter than when Margaret Thatcher unleashed the police charge outside the Coal Miners Museum. I tell you, it's going to be an absolute demolition job. Oh, for those of you too young to know that reference, check the internet. I'll tell you all about it. But no, yeah, I mean, I'm doing what you do, mate. I'm going to back my boys, and we're going to bounce back. We've had a
Wow.
scare. Declan Rice has shouted at the team apparently in the changing room about how shit we played. Mikel Arteta's raging. Little doggy wins bouncing around, going, somehow I'm still here. And Everton, we've got Calafiori back from suspension. So I think he plays, assuming he's fit, I think he plays Trossard on the left. If you on the right hand side, you've got Timber back and right back, hopefully. I think Saka and Timber shut down Grealish and it's not Lewis at Dewsbury Hall.
Dewsbury, yeah.
And I think I genuinely think people like Declan Rice will be vocal in that change and going, listen, come on, like we don't play like that again. No, thank you very much. This is game face on time. So I think the boys are going to turn it motivated. I think we know that Everton haven't got a striker effectively for all the use that Barry chap is. So I don't know if Barry or Gary just got on the wrong truck from France and needs to go back again. But it's again, if you don't know that reference, check out Only Fools and Horses anytime you like. But yeah, I mean, the cannons are coming firing. It's all going to be over in no time. The smoke's going to blow over, and it's going to see Arsenal sitting 3-0 winners.
3-0. I'm going to be a bit more reserved. I'm going to back an Arsenal win, but I'm going to go 2-0. Yeah, I just think you'll just be too strong. I mean, obviously last weekend we're a bit of a wobble with Wolves, but
It was.
I think you'll be back. Like you say, I think evident that Declan Rice wasn't happy. He's motivated his teammates pretty well, and I think you're right. I think you'll be comfortable in the end, and you'll still be sitting pretty at Christmas by the end of the week. I think.
I
So
hope
yeah,
so.
uh,
Bill, we're very upset we're not top on Christmas Day.
guess we'll see. But yeah, I think you'll be right to back your boys are there. Moving on, we've got Leeds at home to Palace, an interesting one. 8 o'clock again on Saturday night. Um, Leeds at home. Is that tough for Palace, or how do you call this
It's
one?
it's funny how loyalties get you in it. I now pay more attention to Leeds because of we like to give Reece a fair crack of the whip and give his boys a good reputation. And then they've played really really well these last 4 weeks.
Yeah, they really have. Yeah,
Palace is Munoz back now? Is he back or is he out for this one? I
it's right.
mean,
To be fair.
obviously they won't be massively happy about having gone down to Manchester City as they did, and they'll want to put it right. They're obviously going to be tough defensively because I mean, he's just unbelievable, like, sort of
Yeah,
single-handedly
he's been good,
defending
hasn't
the goal on his own this season. Um, but Leeds are motivated, they're fired up, and they're at Ellen Road, and we've said before, I mean, we've all. I think those of us who live, I think we all live around here. I mean, we've all been to Ellen Road. You know what I mean? The atmosphere at Ellen Road is always really, really welcoming to away fans. I think not. And I think Leeds will play on that. It's a 13th man, 12th man, depending on how much they paid the referee. And and yeah, I think it will really help Leeds. I think it will be difficult because Crystal Palace is super organised defensively. I can see Leeds being very impressive, but I can see them struggling to break down Crystal Palace. So I'm going to say Leeds 1, Crystal Palace 1. I think we'll get a draw.
Yeah, I've got exactly the same written down in front of me for that as well. I've also gone one apiece. Could be. It'll be definitely one of them remote skipping nights on Saturday night. I think between your boys and Leeds game, be a
I
good
hope.
watch.
I hope. Yeah, I hope so because I think it could have all the hallmarks of a fire and thunder game. Could the Crystal Palace Leeds match? Like, it really could, but
Both coming
there
from
is a real
different.
danger.
Yeah,
There's a real danger they just cancel each other out, and I think that's the worry.
yeah,
But even so, what I would say from a Leeds perspective is getting when you look at Crystal Palace's record the last 18 months, getting a point off Crystal Palace would be a good result. They're a very very underrated, impressive team over the last 18 months, and so it wouldn't be a bad result for Leeds, accepting the fact they're at home and you want to win your home matches. But I think when you look at how Palace finished last season and started this season, if you were coming up from a Leeds point of view, you would have taken a point in this match. So, but I just hope from a Leeds point of view they carry on the performances because, like I said, they've been really good over the last 4 weeks,
Yeah,
and hopefully for them they can carry that forward. But they've got easier matches to play than this. This is a tough match, I think.
yeah. Reese, you might want to drop your own prediction into the comments and see if you can correctly predict the score yourself and see where we are that one. Moving on Sunday, the only game on Sunday, like you said at the start of the show, feel a bit weird. Villa host Man United, which could be another cracking game. To be fair, Villa at home, strong. Man United, in, I don't think they've lost a bit of their identity as well. To be fair, I'm going to back Villa 2-1 on this one. I think Villa are just more organised, just got a bit more about the way they're playing. They know what they're wanting to do. They know what they're wanting to achieve in a game. Whereas Man United just look a bit all over the place, especially coming off the back of Monday night with that absolute madness of a game for all with Bournemouth. So yeah, I expect Villa just to be a bit more organised than Man United, and I think that's what will give them a win. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Villa.
It's a difficult match, this one. If I'm honest, as in from a personal perspective, it properly torn. I mean, genuinely praying for the Bruno Fernandes, Cunha, Mason Mount show. Man United pull off something amazing and take points off Villa because obviously they're breathing down our necks. But realistically, the run Villa are on, the weakness in the Man United lineup, the fact that we've talked on other videos, the fact the whole right side's missing at AFCON, the fact their midfield is aging and slow. I mean, on the assumption that maybe this will be the match where Amorim shows that he can actually listen and pay attention and play Mainu and remember the fact he's got one of the best young midfielders in the world. But it seems that he's the only person in the world who's completely not blinkered to just how good Mainu is, and if he plays the old horses in Casemiro and Fernandez again, just think Villa absolutely will have a field day and overrun them in midfield. And Emery's a kind of canny coach that I can see it, but Eel has seen it weeks and weeks ago. So I think Villa at home with a strong lineup would think they can pretty much run straight to the centre of Man United with just energy alone would be enough. I think it was a really freak result at the end of last season. In that last match that cost Villa the Champions
Yeah,
League, I think they'll want to put that right. They'll have an axe to grind because of that, because they'll be thinking they should be in the Champions League this season were it not for that decision. And I think Emery's point in that match would have been if he'd have just taken your chances, it wouldn't have been close enough for that decision to have mad.
yeah,
And I think they're in the vein of form now where they can take some of that angst out on a United side that all season has looked fragile at best, but particularly now with those three players missing, not only looks fragile, but also you consider does it look because Amarim's shown me nothing this season that makes me think he'll embrace the play in a way. He'll embrace the players that are missing as a way to change his lineup and change his layout. Because I think Man United got the players to make it more difficult for Villa. But from what I've seen so far, I think Amarim will stubbornly stick to the same system and the same layout and his favourites, and it does seem like they're favourites at the minute. And I think Man United will get destroyed as a result of that. I don't hold out a great deal of hope for them. I mean, obviously, I hope Fernandes does something because of fantasy football. But from an Arsenal point of view, I'd love it if Man United could nick a point, and mainly to cost Villa too. But I can't see it. I think Ollie Watkins looks like he's starting to remember the fact he is a world class striker. Marlon could probably sprint around the pitch 3 times before a Man United player got to the halfway line. I think Morgan Rogers just looks inspired at the minute. Buendia, the old stalwarts like Mike Cash and John McGinn, just strong form all over the pitch from Villa at the minute.
Rodgers has been quality the
And
last few weeks.
if United can concede 4 goals to Bournemouth, they could concede 15 to Villa. Because Villa know what they're doing, and they won't have anything like the look at the back they got against Bournemouth. Villa will not be that generous to them. So, like I say, just because I'd like Fernandes to do something for me from a fantasy football point of view, I'll say Aston Villa 3, Manchester United 1.
So 3-1 and 2-1 then for that one. Yeah, it's gonna be a good watch on Sunday. It's only game to watch, so it'll be an interesting one. Yeah.
Certainly hope so. I think it will be the only way it'll be a boring match to watch is if Villa score a couple of quick early goals because I think then they'll just shut up shop and go, we don't need to try now.
Yeah.
I can't see Villa going, let's try and get 5, 6, 7. There's no need to. I think if they got a couple of early goals, you'd see quite a boring second half because I think Villa could defend for about 10 years against Man United and not be in great danger of conceding a second goal. Whereas I think if Man United got an early goal, we'll be in for some real fireworks. And so hopefully from that perspective, maybe we get a lucky early Man United goal, we'll get the fireworks. But no, it's got all the setup of being a really good game.
Yeah. Monday Night Football is back again. This time it's not Man United, obviously. Fulham at home to Forest, Phil. Good game, this,
There's,
on paper.
see, it's interesting you say that because I was about to lead with it's got this game is set up perfectly that I'm just literally waiting for Tuesday night to watch Arsenal Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup. Like I know I'm biased for that, but Fulham not enough really. I don't know. Forest are more attacking than they were last season. Dyche has brought organisation along with clearly the ability to score goals. We saw it last week, although it's only Tottenham in it, but clearly they can get goals. Fulham are obviously scoring for fun. You can get 4 against Manchester City. You can get 3 against Burnley. They can clearly and Harry Wilson, your little man
Equally.
crush, is doing great at the minute, isn't he? So hopefully puts on a show so that you can enjoy Monday Night Football. Um, and and yeah, my concern with it as a game to look forward to watching is that they could just as easily cancel each other out and play out a 0-0 with no chances at all, and you wouldn't be shocked. You'd be like, well, it's just a Monday night game and 2 teams who are well organised and they've just cancelled it. And that's my concern is we could have one of the most interesting, entertaining matches of the season, or we could have a 0-0 draw, and neither would surprise me. It makes it a really difficult match to call because Fulham do give chat clearly. For all they scored 4 and scored 3. Burnley scored 2 and Man City scored 5. So clearly, they're not able at the moment seemingly to keep clean sheets. Whereas Forest have been conceding less and scoring more. So I don't know. It's difficult. I've liked how Fulham have looked this season. I think they've had. I know I said earlier about it's about wins, not performances, but I think Fulham have had good performances throughout the season, and performances that probably denote and deserve more points than they've got. We've talked about Forest's journey coming up the table, and maybe it'll bounce along the way, but I do think there are more upward bounces than downward. And I like Sean Dyche, so I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm going to side with Forest, I think, overall, and I'm going to say Fulham 1, Forest 2.
I brought Desmond out for a Monday night. I think 2-2.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Won't be
It wouldn't
surprised at
surprise
all.
me.
Um, yeah, you touched on the fact
Which is
that,
why I've got a bit of trepidation about hanging my hat and looking forward to the game because I wouldn't be shocked to fall asleep in the first half. I'm hoping it's not that. But yeah, we'll see.
it's like I said, anything could happen. It usually does, and the Premier League's the place where anything does happen, and we've seen time and time again. And nobody expected 4-4 last Monday night. So, yeah,
Did not.
I think every game's tough to predict at the minute. I mean, apart from Wolves, who'll get hammered every week, but
Or hammer themselves if they're playing Arsenal. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, guys, if you want to get involved, make sure you put your prescription. Oh my god, predictions into the chat, and like and subscribe
Yeah.
for moments like that
Me.
where I mix my
Let
words
us
like I've
know.
been doing all night. But yeah,
Yeah. Let us know what you think.
yeah, see if you can put us to shame and correctly score any of these games. That's why we try to do every week. And yeah, well, that's it for this weekend's games that are coming up. We'll be back next week to review our predictions on the games ourselves. See how we do.
Well,
See if there's any highlights to come back to. But yeah,
wonderful.
I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers,
Good
man.
night, Phil.
See you on Monday. Have a good
Good night.
one.
Cheers, bye.